Okay, so I'm reduced to handheld. I don't know, sorry my camera overheated, so I actually just switched cameras completely to another one, so hopefully it'll last. But Roy was asking about canning and how it was intimidating. And while it is intimidating, the thing about it is we just want to try and be slow with it, take it easy, follow the directions. A great resource I found is pickyourown.org. So they have all kinds of recipes and stuff like that, which I really wouldn't get into recipes, but I would get into the instructions of stuff, where to get it and all that. And then that'll help you to get on your canning journey, and just pick like a vegetable that you have a lot of and try and go through it. I wouldn't really try to fill up my cabinet completely with any kind of vegetable or anything. I would just try and take it slow, and always water bathing is a great way to start because it's a pretty simple process. It's just putting it in, filling it with water and letting it boil. So I think that's a really good process to do too. Otherwise it's kind of tough because, you know, pressure canning's kind of gotten a bad name over the years, bad rap, because of the pressure involved and all that stuff. So it kind of helps with everything to just take it easy, go slow, and just start canning very slowly and working your way into it. And I mean, food preservation in general, like freezing and stuff like that, there's all kinds of methods and different ways you can freeze and all that stuff. It's, you know, for instance, like when we decided we wanted to freeze eggplants, we learned that we needed to blanch them first. So that was like a whole new process that we didn't know about. So we had to blanch them first, and then we kind of moved down the line and went from there. And I actually have come to find out that in some instances, pressure canning, once you get the knack of it, is a lot easier than not, you know, freezing or something like that, because I don't really have to worry about blanching as much. And the other thing too is like this stuff lasts basically forever. I mean, not forever, but for multiple years you'll be able to enjoy your cans and stuff like that, and you can build over time. Versus a freezer, like when we have hurricanes and stuff like that, we lose power. Guess what? I mean, we lost an entire harvest one year from that, and that's when we stopped and we just started pressure canning. And this year we're going to get back into freezing a little bit, but we're not going to go super crazy with that. And that's a lot, again, it's a lot easier. So there's a lot of different methods, but canning is something that I recommend if you're a serious gardener and you're producing excess. And a lot of people like to give away their produce and stuff like that, and it is a good feeling to do that. But at the same time, I want to enjoy this in the future down the road. So it's kind of one of those things where you can kind of work that in the way you want to fit your narrative and what makes you feel good. But at the same time, like, I have people asking me, hey, I want to start a garden, and then they never do it. But then when they want a tomato, they come to me, and I'm like, hey man, all you need is a pot to put the tomato in. You know, like, as a gardener, you're clearly going to help somebody grow their food to whatever extent you can. And I just kind of got to where, like, if you've shown interest but you don't do it, like, I'm kind of hesitant to give you a lot of my produce because I want to enjoy my produce. Like, I work really hard to grow my garden. This whole garden out here is full, but it's full for us first. And then once we do our canning and our eating and stuff like that, then we can start giving stuff away. So I hope that makes sense. And I do hope, Roy, that you kind of come across this again. I'm sorry that I'm having heating technical difficulties. So this right here, once that's up, we're good to go. Usually takes about 10 minutes. And now we're gonna watch the pressure go up. You should be able to see it. Once it gets to, I believe it was 11 pounds, then we start adjusting. And so this is what I call the dance. So it's like you let it get up, and then if it goes over 11, whatever the recommended pressure is, then it's fine. But if it, and you can just keep on your time schedule, everything. Like these have to can for 25 minutes. So I'm gonna sit here for 25 minutes and make sure it doesn't go under the recommended pressure, which is 11 pounds per square inch. If it goes under it, then you have to restart your timer and get that pressure back up. So that's really the important part. But once you like, you'll get to know that stuff, and it's really becomes second nature after a while, you know. I used to want to have it like perfect, absolutely perfect. Had to have the pressure at 11 the whole time, but now it's like I'll let this thing get to 12, 13, 14. I don't care. As long as it doesn't go to 10.75, which is not even that accurate, but as long as it doesn't go to that, we're good. And that's where that knowledge and that experience will kick in. But once you start it, it's addictive. You can't stop. And then you can get into making recipes and all that stuff. I mean, we make all of our own jellies. If we don't grow it, we go to a U-pick farm and we'll pick all of our own and make it. And we did a cost analysis, and it's maybe 25% cheaper for us to do it. But if you put the effort in doing it, then it's definitely not worth it as monetarily, but we know what's going into our food. And that's important. I mean, the only thing we're putting into our jellies is fruit, sugar, and pectin. That's it. Yeah, I don't know about Sun Gold's Frosty Lone Wolf. I don't know if they're, I've had them, but I don't know much about them. I've been experimenting with my varieties over the past few years, so I had to go handheld on this camera, so let me try and get something to set it on. There, how's that? Sorry, this is like emergency mode. I'm even gonna set a fan on it so it doesn't cut off. So yeah, so I've done a few lives before. If you guys hear a lot of wind noise, just let me know. I just kind of put a fan on the camera to keep it cool. I've done a few lives before, and usually I'm starting seeds and stuff. You know, I'll probably put a poll up, and if you guys like the canning and the preserving and stuff, we can do that. I'd like to go live more often and talk with you guys. So I'm gonna try and figure out something that the majority of the people like and will watch and show up for. I know it's not the ideal time, but this is kind of the time that I had to do it, especially with the weekend coming up, because my broken foot has finally healed and I can surf. So I'm trying to get out on the waves where it looks like it's gonna be a good day. So it should be awesome. So, yeah, but I need to know that canning, because we started canning. We lived in New England, and we actually got our first canner the same year that the Boston bomber had that whole situation up north, and he used pressure cookers. So we were terrified to use the only thing I thought was bomb, but it worked out in the long run, and we kind of got over that. Yeah, so as far as tomatoes go, man, I know that people say there's crazy flavor profiles, and I've had a couple that are different because I do try them, and man, they all taste the same to me. I don't have anything that's like totally different or in anything. I mean, like I grow my husk tomatoes, and they definitely have a pineapple flavor, but if anybody knows like a nice mild tomato flavor, that's what I would be in search for. There's just something about it that I can't really get into. But I know this year we're growing the Honest A's, and I haven't tasted any of them yet. So I mean, for all I know, I might have one out there. I'm growing Honest Abe, Better Boy, the Geranium Kiss, which is supposed to be an indeterminate dwarf plant. So full-size tomatoes on a dwarf plant, but so far I am not witnessing that. I'm basically seeing a bigger cherry tomato on that plant, which is kind of a bummer. I'm not ready to hang it up yet. I mean, you never know what it's gonna do, but I'd like to taste it and see what the flavor is on it. Oh, so here we go. The pressure's up. So at this point, we're well over our 11 pounds. So I just turn it down and just let it go. And then I'll also double check. So the carrots are 11 pounds of pressure. So you have to think about, one of the things that can make you nervous, which I understand, is not having enough pressure, that pressure dropping. And so when that pressure drops, in order to lower it, you can't just turn your stove down and say, okay, well, I'm gonna turn it to 3 and then it's gonna go down. What you have to do is it's like steering a giant ship. You've got to anticipate it. So you're gonna have to kind of go down, then go up, and then go down a little bit and go back up. And then you can kind of, you get it. So right now, like the weight's starting to rock on it because it's over pressurized. But as that pressure comes down, because I turned the heat down, it'll ease up. Yeah, and something I've realized about people who really love tomatoes, people that really, really like tomatoes, a lot of people I've encountered, they don't really respect the fact that I don't like tomatoes as much as they do. And so you get told like, oh, you gotta try this tomato. I'm like, yeah, I didn't really care for it. What? You didn't like that mater? Well, by God, you gotta get you some of them and put you some Duke's mayonnaise on the bread, some pepper, and then, you're just good to go. And that's not my story. So I think but also when you're buying stuff from the grocery store, you don't really know what a tomato tastes like. I will say that the tomatoes that I've had out of my garden, I do enjoy more than the tomatoes from the grocery store. So yeah, let me show you this rocking sensation on there so you can see it. So you see how that's rocking? It's letting out the pressure right now because it's pegged, so I need to go down more. But at the same time, I can also set my timer. And so now the pressure is starting to drop. Within a few minutes, we should see the weight stop rocking. Turn it down a little bit lower, try and get it down. So higher pressure is not really going to hurt the food, but it can make it a little bit mushy, which isn't a bad thing. I don't really want crunchy carrots in my cans. Do you? If I want crunchy carrots, I'll just go grab one of them other ones over there. And like I said, dip them in some hot mustard. And I tried Grey Poupon for the first time in my whole life. Dude, the commercials were right. Like, I would pull up next to somebody and be like, excuse me, do you have any Grey Poupon? Like, I would totally do it. It's actually really good. Yeah, you know what? You're right. It is none of your business. But I kind of put it out there. But, it's like when we do the podcast, Batavia and I talk about it, and she never says anything about it, which is good. Honestly, I think she has sympathy for me because she clearly enjoys the tomatoes much more than I do. My grandfather used to eat them like apples, and he was really bad. Like, he was a great man. But one thing he was bad about is, like, if you're like, I just don't like them, and I'd try them, he'd be like, you need to eat it. You need to eat the tomato now. And it just didn't work out for me. And that might be why I don't like them to this day. Now, one thing I haven't found is like green beans and stuff that have different flavors, though. That's kind of the issue I have. I'd like to find a green bean with a different flavor. Now that I'm not canning, I'm like talking nonstop. My throat's dry. So I don't drink beer at all, but I haven't drank beer for like 15 years. I wasn't alcoholic or anything, just wasn't my thing. And a couple of years ago, we went surfing in the summertime. I hated seltzer water. And my neighbor was like, hey, have a seltzer water. And because I was being nice, I was like, okay, I'll have a seltzer water. And I instantly fell in love with it for some reason. So my son calls them daddy beers. So I just finished my daddy beer. It's kind of sad. Hey Batavia, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm now handheld and it's a hot mess. I'm not set up well. I guess it got too hot by the canner. So, yeah, let's look at this. I'll show you. Hopefully I have a photographic memory, but it's just below 15 now, but look, the weight's not rocking anymore. So it's starting to drop slowly, so I can still bring it farther down and just keep adjusting it. So at this point the stove is on like simmer, so generally once I get it to pressure, I do have to land around I think 2 or 3 on my stove to keep it pretty stable, but once I get that pressure I got to bring it down. Yeah, it's funny, I just ate a piece of watermelon earlier. It was my first piece of the year. Not from my garden. I do have a watermelon in my garden. But it's not ready to harvest yet, so I'm gonna be calm. But man, it was good. And it was store-bought. And I was like, man, that store-bought melon, if it was that good, that one out of my garden is gonna be amazing. So Cape Fear preps, I don't know if you were here earlier, but I actually took all of the small carrots I did and canned them as baby carrots. So I'll show you what I've got left. So I canned well, here's one. For some reason I didn't stick in the canner, but you can see I just canned all those. I got 6 jars canning right now. And then these are the ones I have left that I'll eat or whatever, so. That's good though. And I tell you what, a carrot from your garden is way better than a store. Sorry, come. More carrot. Look at that. She loves a damn carrot. I don't blame her. So I was just saying, Mr. Cape Fear, that I'm going surfing tomorrow. I don't know about you. So I know we talked that you surf, so it looks like it might be a decent day. It's 60 degrees there, Batavia? That sucks. Look, I know Frosty Lone Wolf, you're up north. What's the temperature there? Okay, how long ago did I harvest these? I started harvesting them. Most of the ones that I'm canning today, I harvested, or actually half of them I harvested about 4 days ago. And then the other ones that I'm canning today, I harvested either last week or the week before, and they've been in the fridge. So, yeah, but kind of getting long in the tooth. So you're in the 70s? Man, it's 90 here. That's crazy. My son is all jazzed. So check it out. You're gonna see in the video tomorrow, if you just choose so to watch it, that I have fully planned, I believe it's tomorrow, I fully plan to go out there and harvest these giant carrots. And it didn't work out. So I harvested them, let some go. And my problem was overcrowding. So I figured it out. I planted my son's carrots for him the other day, and when I did, I'm using that new seeder, and when I was pulling it, I put 750 carrots in the seeder. The bed is 6 feet long. I sowed 2 double rows of carrots, two double rows and a half row of carrots, and I ran out. So clearly we overplanted a carrot. So the cedars, I'm trying to figure out the cedar, and I think that's what happened here. So what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna have big gaps. And we all know that we don't like to transplant carrots, but this is something I've done in the past with other vegetables and it's worked out good. Is I'm gonna scoop out big chunks of dirt and not disturb the roots, and then put them and work out my spacing better that way. because I'm not, I don't want him to have another bad harvest. Like, he was happy with his potatoes, but after he saw mine, he was bummed, which I told him it doesn't matter. We're combining them, whatever. We had a friendly bet. It's cool, but I really want him to kind of get what he gets, you know? You got to do the grown-up thing, huh? Well, it's all right. I just threw all that out the window. I'm not doing any of it. I'm getting in the water. So, yep, so I've got the on simmer, and now it's down to 13 pounds. So what I'll do is I'll come over here, show you guys. So see how it's starting to drop, but it's not dropped down. So what I'll do is I'll just bump it a little bit, just kind of feather it. And then that'll help keep everything going in the right direction. So you don't want to do drastic changes. You know, you don't want that temperature to, you know, you want to kind of ease it down or ease it up, and then you'll be good. So, but yeah, and then once I take them out, so what I do is I let it sit in there. I don't take the weight off. I don't open the top. I let that pressure gauge drop all the way to 0. And then what I do is I take the weight off. When there's no pressure left, let it vent for a minute. I open it up, and I'm telling you this because my battery is running low, so I don't want to cut you guys off again. So I'll let it go low. I open it up, let the steam go that way, and then I pull it out. And what I have, which I got a bunch of junk on, I'm gonna have to clean off. So I'll show you. And yes, Batavia, I do eat canned carrots. I put maple syrup in them and eat them, and now we're gonna be putting honey in them. So what I do is I have this thick mat here. It's like a dishwashing mat. And then I have these 2 towels. And so I'll put them in there. I'll put them on the mat, put the 2 towels on, so it insulates it. So you want them to cool really slow as possible. Even if you can even put 3 towels on there. And when I take them out, they'll be boiling. And then when I put them in, they will stop, they will cool down. So a lot of times, like I'll can at night. And when I can at night, when I wake up in the morning, the jar is still warm to the touch. Not hot, but warm. By the way, this lighting is making me look evil. I hate it. I have this stupid heart here on my phone. I don't know why it wants me to heart myself, but I can't read all of it. It's different, but I heard there are people that lose everything in their garden due to disaster that happened. Yeah, I had a giant tree fall in my garden one year. That sucked. I've multiple times, and I'm sure Cape Fear Preps can get on board with this, had to blow over, plants toppled. You know, but we don't get snow here, so when we get snow, it's like a big deal. So we've definitely had, like, you know, if we get snow, like, for us, that's a disaster. I know for you guys, that's just nothing. We've had total crop failures in one of our gardens. The year that I put wood chips in was awful. We got hardly anything. And I know that's a hot topic, but that was what happened with us. So we've had a couple bad years. This year has actually been pretty good. Last year, like, for instance, we didn't get any cucumbers. 2 years we haven't had any cucumbers. So, you know, we just had diseases and we had pests and stuff like that, and that's just part of it, you know. But imagine having a farm and having your livelihood depend on that, you know, where all of your money is going to come in based on this one crop. Like, that's terrible. Now, the other part of that is if you're a big enough farmer, the government will step in and help foot the bill for some of it. So there is that aspect of it. So I don't know. I'm not that blessed. It's not like the government's going to come help me. I think the best thing they ever did when we had Hurricane Florence is they offered to give us money to replace all the condiments in our refrigerator. which I didn't find out until afterwards, which seems like, oh, that's nothing, but it's really expensive. And that was the year we lost our entire preservation of harvest from the in the freezer from the power outage. So we're starting to go down a little faster, so I'm just gonna bump it up a little bit and slow it down. So I have like 9 minutes left before it's done. All right, so there's a couple people in here. Before we go, do you guys like the lives? And what would you like for me to be doing on the lives? Like, my initial plan was to be doing canning and stuff like that, because I sit here and watch a dial. So like, I don't have to do the whole canning process. I can do like this part of the live was we're just like sitting here chatting. I can be starting seeds. I can't really be out in the garden working because it's too hot. It's just too hot. The camera will just instantly get smoked. So you know, let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll put a poll up too if you don't feel comfortable saying it here. I don't care. I mean, kind of is what it is. So just let me know what you guys want, and I'll be happy to do it. I like going live. I like talking to people and stuff like that. I like answering you guys' comments, but it's like a one-way conversation. You know what I mean? Dog, Hurricane Fran was terrible. I remember that. And so just so you guys know, I don't know if you guys were here earlier, but hopefully that's in our future. We got our bees. So look for that. We'll be doing some beekeeping now. Still doing some olive gardening, obviously. And we're starting to start more seeds now, so we're ramping up on that, getting ready for fall. So, yep. Temperature's going down again, pressure. So right now, like for instance, I just put my stove on 4 because it's starting to get pretty right on the money. So I want to bump it up. So you can see it took me 15 minutes to get the pressure down, which is what you want. Now, if it got real bad, I would just cut the heat off, but I didn't do that. When is fall for me? So fall can be anywhere from middle October to Christmas. I mean, honestly, like our temperatures get kind of crazy. We've had winters where it barely gets below freezing, and then we've had winters where it gets really, really cold. Like we had the Arctic blast this year. So I typically say, for me, it would be, I'm gonna say about October 10th, if I had to put a date on it, is when I kind of consider it to be cooling off. And to us, cooling off can be 85 degrees, but we'll start getting those cooler nights, which helps the plants rebound, and the cooler evenings. So we may peak, but we don't stay up that high. It can really just depend. And spring can start in February. January is always winter here, always. But February can really be spring, but it's like a really dangerous time for us. So, because in February we always, like I had a hard time when I lived up north because my body was used to the weather here. So in February it seems like around President's Day we always get to about 70 degrees, but up there winter was just kicking up and getting started. So it was tough. So we kind of figured out like, hey, when we were up there, I just figured like I just crank the wood stove and deal with it. But here it can like get 70 degrees, but then like the next week it could be 25 again. So it's kind of tough. So that's when we focus on the crops that are needed And then also moving forward, I think what I'm going to be doing is focusing on the varieties that can take that kind of cold and really push it to the next, the next level, where once they're planted, if we judge the weather right and we get it in, they can sit, they can take a cold, and better yet, if we cover them, they're definitely going to be able to take it. But we just have to be smart about it. We don't want to waste our time or anything like that. Yeah. So for me, it's too late to start watermelons simply for the fact that, one, I don't have enough space in my garden anymore for them, and two, I get to a point to where they get so big and out of control because our season can be so long that I don't want to maintain them. So that's where it becomes for us where the watermelons just aren't worth it anymore. So we're right on the line now. So just to be safe, because I'd hate to have to restart the time after, in the last 3 minutes, I'm going to bump up the temperature again and let it rise to where it needs to be. So, all right, everybody. I'm going to pull these out. My battery's almost dead. I've managed to not let this overheat. So thank you guys for being here. I'll put a poll up in the next couple days, hopefully, about live stuff. You guys can answer it or not, whatever. I do, like I said, I do intend to try and come on here, especially on these hot days. I'd like to come in here like when I'm inside and I don't have to go out there in the heat and do it. Plus, the internet's way better here. It's a whole thing. So, yeah, I hope you guys grow good. I hope you guys start canning something soon. And if you haven't, give it a shot and enjoy, everybody. So, be good.